Hello, everyone. Welcome back to. I'm always tempted to say Britain's Hangout Hour because I've been doing a lot of those recently, but no, it's not that. Um, it's another discussion, and again, I'm here with Josh
Hi.
Pantalleresco from Just Joshing fame. How you doing, man?
Busy. It's been a crazy ride the last couple weeks.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I know what you mean. It's been.
Well, congrats on finishing your novel. I should actually
Thank
say
you.
that's surprise. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes. You're welcome. You're welcome. I may or may not have had something to do with kicking you to write the damn thing.
Yes. But speaking of books, we're talking about Fahrenheit 451 today from
hmm
Ray Bradbury, which is a very important novel, I think. It's one of your favorite books, isn't it?
It is my favorite book.
It is your favorite book. Okay, that's.
It's my favorite one.
uh,
Uh, do you
I'll
want?
admit I have a bit of a complicated relationship with this book. I've warmed to it over the years because I'll admit I like something wicked this way comes and like the Martian Chronicles a lot,
Beautiful.
and
Both those are beautiful stories.
no, don't get me wrong, I like Fahrenheit 451,
Oh,
but
sure.
it's just I was kind of like, at first I was kind of like, all right, this is pretty good, and it's kind of grown on me over the years. It's like it's like that parasite that just keeps on.
Is
That's a
that those
that's a
descriptive
bad that's a
kind of
bad way
line?
to describe it. It's kind of
Yeah.
like it's kind of like a great song that's stuck. It's stuck in your head after a while, and you're like, or something. I don't know, but kind
Parasite. Okay.
of it's kind of my experience with it, though. I know you really enjoy it a lot, and we've talked about it a
Uh,
few times.
um, it's the only book that's ever scared me.
Really?
Yes.
Well, you haven't read a horror novel that's like gotten under
Oh,
your skin.
no, doesn't hit me the same way. Doesn't no because
Why does
so
it scare you? I guess I should
because
ask.
I could see it. It was the first book that really made me look at the world. So it was Martian Chronicles was my first Bradbury book, right? And I was
That
getting
is a
just getting
great
it.
book.
Oh no, it's fantastic. I like honestly in terms of if you're looking at it from a point of view of Ray's more descriptive, like imagery, some of his more flowery stuff. Fahrenheit 451 is not his most. Is not his most. I would argue something wicked this way comes, dandelion wine.
Still haven't read
Uh,
that one. I
oh,
want
that
to
one,
so bad.
that one's not really a sci-fi book. That's a fiction book. Like really like great literary. It's damn near literary. It's really good. But the thing is, when I read Fahrenheit 51, I was 15 years old, and the very first thing in the book, and it hit me at just the right time, was the question, "Are you happy?"
Well, when did you first read Fahrenheit
I told you
451?
15 years old. I was
Oh, okay.
15.
I
It
was
was
gonna say I
15.
read it first when I was a teenager, so as
So
well.
what's that 15 is a teenager.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
15 is a teenager, right? It's
it's
but I was ready for the question it asked. And that's the thing about it is it was it's not really about burning books. It's the kind of like the plot and the idea, but what it's really about is about our connection to the world. Like that's what
yeah,
the story's really about. Um, like when Clarice goes to Montag, when they first meet, Clarice asks him, "Are you happy?"
yeah. It's it's interesting because like a lot of people like to say it's about censorship, and I kind of just sit there and I'm like, kind of, but I think people are missing the point when they say that. It's not really about that as much as it is about what you're saying. But continue what you were saying. I didn't mean to interrupt you, of course.
It's got dystopian themes to it for sure. Like
Yes.
it is a dystopia, right? It is a dystopia, but it wasn't. Dystopia is in some ways happenstance because what he's really talking about is the power of that desire for connection,
Mm-hmm.
and we have a tendency not to lack self-awareness about our okay. For example, like what like sometimes like I just had this conversation with my guests I was on the show. Sometimes we do things because we have to,
Mm-hmm.
but we get used to it, and then we just do it without really a reason why. If not, and sometimes years later it hits us. Why the fuck am I doing this?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So when Clarice is asking, when Clarice asked the question, and this was just me at 15 as well, when Clarice asked the question, "Are you happy?" It forced Montag and honestly myself to examine my life. Am I happy with my life? It actually made me ask that question honestly for the first time in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And I had the same answer Montag had. I wasn't.
Yeah.
So it spoke like it hit at the right time that way. But the reason it scared me is that I realized that this is like the thing that came to me in that story was I realized how much pardon me. Ugh. I realized how much people do not connect with the world around them. They don't know how.
Mm-hmm.
And that to me was the most profound thing. Like the giant TVs were definitely ahead of their time, but I would go. Oh, that one he got absolutely right.
Oh yeah, my dad's always getting TVs, and I'm just like, oh man, I don't know if I necessarily think of Fahrenheit 451 all the time, but sometimes I'm like, Dad, why do you get the TVs? And admittedly, he's just kind of gone like, I don't know, I just could. I'm like, you know what, fine, what?
Yeah, but
Yeah,
I
my
mean
dad's always liked TVs.
but that whole idea was from that book, and it was like you wrote that in the 50s or 60s, somewhere in there. Anyway,
Mm-hmm.
like that's pretty fucking profound. It's like, damn, of all the things you were right about in that book, that was one of them. And um, but ignoring all that, it's really about how we desire to feel something in the world more often than not. And more often than not, people don't let themselves do it.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of freaked me out.
Yeah, I mean, it's I remember when I read Brave New World for the first time, because I had gone through a phase when I was in middle school, in early high school, when I was reading a bunch of classic books. So I read like, I don't know, Great Gatsby,
Okay.
Brave New World, 1984, Fahrenheit 451, Slaughterhouse-Five, Heart of Darkness. I read Lolita in high school.
Okay. Okay. Completely different from everything else on that list, but okay.
I've heard it be called a classic. I'm like, I'm checking this out, and I read it. I'm like, oh. But Fahrenheit 451 was one of those weird ones where I was kind of like, okay. And then again, it kind of grew on me over time because it's it has a way of doing that. It has a way.
So where do you connect with the book?
Well, I remember we talked a while back, and I find where I connect with this book is Montag kind of. There's a moment in one of my favorite moments in the book is when Montag gets a book out and he reads a poem to his wife and her friends, and one of the ladies, starts crying, and he reads it, and kind of what I got from it is like, look at this beauty you're missing out on.
Sure.
Look at this beautiful, wonderful thing that you're missing out on by just indulging in this stupid crap. It's kind of the same thing with Brave New World, It's like you're like, here's all this beautiful, stuff that you're missing, and you're not, you just don't care anymore. They're almost like zombies.
I would suggest that Brave New World is a little bit more about the idea there was that people there would be so caught up in the moment, the party, the distractions, the sex, the drugs, that they wouldn't notice life passing them by. right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. And that one, like that one in 1984, are more about deconstructing a dystopian state,
Mm-hmm.
right? A dystopian state.
I mean,
Um,
I'm always arguing with people because, I am sometimes an argumentative person. Because I notice a lot of people just go, "Oh man, 1984 is going on right now," and I'm just like, "Bruh, North Korea, that's 1984." Now, could you say that there are some things that the government does that might be 1984-ish? Possibly, you could make that argument. But I find Brave New World is much more plausible because, and also Fahrenheit 451 is more plausible because in those books, it's not an evil government boogeyman that's destroying destroying the beauty and the self-expression of the world. It's us. We don't care enough about it to stop it.
it's not that we don't.
It's
Not that we.
or that's my interpretation. You might that might be.
I. So
That
I
and I
mean,
find that's a scarier thought, at least in my opinion.
so
I mean, as terrifying as 1984 is, I'm not, I think 1984 is a great novel, a powerful novel. I think it's one that everyone should read at least once in their lives. But at the same time, it's like, I think, like, I don't know if it would be that extreme. Maybe in some cases it would be. Like, Soviet Union definitely was. There's other places like Nazi Germany that definitely were. But it's...
So
I don't know. But my point is, I find those two books are more plausible, I guess.
what? Okay. All right. Let's go down the 1984 rabbit hole for just a second.
Oh, no.
So you have a department called Homeland Security.
Yes.
You have disinformation and misinformation being used today to become narratives so that would give government officials authority about issues. This is the truth, and anything else is not misinformation. So we have that. We have. I mean, we're more. I mean, in the United States, is we had in Canada during the pandemic, we had people that weren't allowed to go into stores because they didn't get a vaccine. We've had vax passes here for like a very brief period of time. I don't know, man. I don't think we're that far from 1984. What I will say is, I don't think it's going to look like Ministry of Peace, Ministry of Truth, Think Double Think. I don't think it's going to be quite that language. But the idea of controlling ideas and thoughts has long been a thing with all dictatorships of any kind. And I would argue, and to say that the United States doesn't engage in any of those tactics would be a bit disingenuous.
I didn't say they don't do any of that stuff. I'm just saying I don't think the people who complain about it, I think they're kind of missing the point. Really?
Are you sure? Like what I mean by this is this goes something that we've talked about before. When you hear an opposing point of view, right? When you hear an opposing point of view, the question you got to ask is why are they thinking that way?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Not that you agree or disagree with them. Okay, that's great. Why do you think? Right? Why are they thinking like this? Because if you start looking at it from that perspective, maybe you can say, all right, maybe there's something to what you're saying. Maybe they're full of shit. Doesn't I mean that's fine. I mean, you might end up disagreeing with the conclusion, but there are definitely some Orwellian tactics in the United States government. I tend to think that because of the consumer base in the United States and how they are encouraged to consume, what I will give you is it is more along the lines of say Brave New World than say 1984.
That's my case.
Right. But no. But what I'm telling
I don't
you,
mean to, interrupt you, of course.
yes, you did, but it's okay.
I did a little bit.
Yeah, but what I would say is I don't think it's beyond the pale. I don't think it's beyond the pale, and I also don't think, considering how extreme the United States has become in terms of political views and slants, right? I don't necessarily think that is beyond the pale anymore. It's not necessarily right here, right now, but it's not. I'm not quite laughing at it either anymore. It's like, maybe I could see it, right?
I
Like I said, you disagree, and that's cool.
Sorry.
Right?
No.
Again.
I guess it's part of being an American. We tend to be confrontational.
No, there's nothing wrong being confrontational.
Canadians are just like.
No. Well, all I'm pointing out, all I'm pointing out to you is, all I'm saying to you is, right? I do tend to agree where it's at right now, sure, but you do have an Aurelian slant with some of your very government agencies. You're right, so
that's why I think 1984 is important, because those it's good to know about.
Sure. But most people, the most interesting part of 1984, and we'll do this another day, is the index. The index is super interesting. Not the story so much, but the index afterwards. It's one of the few times where the world building is actually more interesting than the story.
Well,
it's the real ending of the story. The government loses, and that's the story of how they did and what they were trying to do, and it's very thorough. Anyway, I digress. We're talking about Fahrenheit.
But going back to Fahrenheit 451, of course, I guess why I find that Fahrenheit 451 is more plausible, because and I know we've kind of disagreed on this, but I do know that Ray Bradbury was, let's just say, not a fan of technology. He's just, he just wasn't. And that's okay. And he kind of... Now, there are some people who've said that this is sort of his angry old man kind of, it's technology's going to override reading. Which, yes, you could say that's kind of how it started out, but I think what he's really saying, and maybe he didn't even realize it, is, look at this beauty. Like I said before, look at what you're missing. Look at these deep ideas. You're not thinking anymore. You're just zombies wandering around.
Well,
again, comparing it to Brave New World, it's sort of, they're just zombies who care about, just whatever gets their attention.
The big difference between Brave New World and Fahrenheit, or there's two really big differences. The first is, I feel like in Fahrenheit 451, the dystopian aspects of it are secondary. It's not really about the dystopia. Brave New World's about a dystopia. 1984 is about a dystopia. Right? I would say that Bradbury's story is not a dystopian first.
Sure, yeah.
Right? And that's one big difference. The other is while Brave New World doesn't have quite the same evil government that, say, 1984 has.
Oh no, that's why I think it's more sinister.
It's still an evil government. It still is.
But it's not like they're, it's not like in 1984 what you think when you think of this government, a boot stamping on your face. We'll just distract them to where they don't care that they're being oppressed, and that's basically a similar thing they've done in Fahrenheit 451, though, in my opinion.
A bit. It disconnects people, but it's how they do it. It's how they do it. It's how they do it a little differently. The government takes a much more active role in Brave New World. In Fahrenheit 451, it's not, government's there. but the government's represented through cipher, not through a particular.
Do you mean Beatty?
Cipher, his boss.
Oh, why'd you call
Fire
him
chief?
Cipher? His name's Beatty. I thought his name was Beatty.
I might be wrong here, but I thought his name was Cipher for some reason. It's all good. It's been a while. That's my hey.
Well, I was looking this up a little bit and kind of researching it before, doing some kind of looking through it again before we did this.
Yeah, hold on a second here. Let's see if I might be. Hey, listen, I totally might be on something here when I said it. But the fire chief, the guy that was like Montag once upon a time, right?
Mm-hmm.
That was interesting. I thought that was a much more hold on a second here. Let's Captain Beatty. Yep, you're right. Right. I remember. You're right. Name is right. I remember the character correctly, but yeah, the name is. I screwed up the name. I'm good with that.
Oh, okay.
I screwed up the name. Hello.
What?
But anyway, but what I was gonna say is the interesting thing there was there was a cynicism there, not about technology, but about those things.
Yeah, that was one of the questions that again, don't mean to interrupt, but one of the questions I kind of had about this is like, because if I remember right in the book, like Beatty used to like be a big reader before all this happened, but now he's one of the biggest advocates of this thing.
Sure.
Why?
Well, there's a few reasons for that. He likes order. Right, there's an order to it.
Is it that he became broken by the people who didn't care enough, so he just decided why not?
It's easy to hate people.
Yeah. I agree.
Okay, it's easy to hate people. Look, you have an oblivious, like, he sees all this beauty in the world, okay? Like, he's connecting to things, he's feeling things, he's questioning things, he's doing things, and nobody else around him is. And he wasn't happy. I mean, the thing is, knowledge comes with a burden as well, and the burden is you can see a different way of doing things that other people may not see. And when that happens, you have this tendency, like I said, you just have this tendency to, first you're like, well, why can't you see this? Right?
Kind of like Montag by
yeah, kind of, but that's the first thing. Why can't you see this? Now, the big difference between the two is Montag met people who had, and that's the difference. But one of the big differences, right? So Beatty was alone.
Mm-hmm.
He was surrounded by people who could not understand him, but he understood them all too well.
Yeah.
And over time, he came to resent these people. And over time, he began to hate them. And once he crossed that line,
do you think he began to hate everybody?
Yeah, absolutely. First off, he never had the balls to escape. It's really a little bit of a self-hatred thing. He never had the balls to escape. He could have ran too, but he didn't. He chose to be part of this, and he let, like, again, you see people, again, completely oblivious, completely unaware of what's going on around them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then what are you going to, if you see that and you're just like, and they'd never change and they're never going to change, and you have this realization that the vast majority of the people you are going to meet are never going to change this perspective. They're never going to find this self-awareness. Well, that's frustrating. Like, that's beyond frustration, right?
Sure, probably broke him after a while.
Well, I don't know if it broke him, but it's not a hard road from that to despise that. And then, you know what you'd hate more than that? You know what you hate more than these people who will never change?
What?
The ones that can. And and the ones that want the same things that you claimed you wanted, but you never had the heart to leave.
Yeah, I mean, another great scene is when Montag he pretends to be sick and he just shows up and basically just starts letting him know, like, hey, I know you're doing this thing, stop doing that.
What do you mean this thing?
Stop reading, basically. It's like,
Oh,
hey,
you mean
I know you've been skimming some books off the side, don't do that. And he's like talking all this shit to him and, you know, saying all this stuff, and Montag's like, oh shit, you know.
Well, no,
He's
because
on to me.
well, yeah, because again, he knows what to look for, right?
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I actually think the captain's the most interesting character in the book because it's like you know how pointless this is, and you still keep going with it, and go along with it anyway. And I guess like it's kind of hard for me to comprehend that.
I don't think it's that hard for you to comprehend. I think you're right. Again, we've had talks off the air.
Maybe it's because I'm young. I don't know.
No.
Maybe it's because I'm too idealistic for my own good, but it's like
No, see. I think between the two of us, I'm the more idealistic one, right? And I'm actually older than you, but it's once you come to a realization, like you can put people into a box. Once you can do that, you just put them in this little box. And you realize that for the most part, everybody's going to stay in that box. Right?
Mm-hmm.
It's really easy to grow bitter. No one can understand him. He's reading, he's seeing, he's questioning things. He's aware of the world in a way very few other people are. Right? I know stuff. I've seen stuff. I've experienced stuff. If not directly, but through these books I read.
Mm-hmm.
And I know what kind of people you are because I see you every single fucking day. Right? And that's where it comes from. When you So there's this scene in Transmet, since we did Transmet not too long ago.
I was gonna mention, like, I wasn't really proud of my performance in our Transmet episode.
I'm gonna give you a quick little line there because this actually ties into this. There's a moment when Spider's looking at people, and he's describing them. He goes, "There are moments where I understand why the Smiler and the Beast hate you all." Right?
Yeah.
Right. That's Beatty. That is Beatty. Beatty is the dude that hates them all. He hates the people that will not change. That is the root of his hatred. But he hates the people that will have the courage to do what he didn't more, that could see the world the way he sees it. Because he has no excuses for them. What can he say to them?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
There's a buddy of mine. He's currently homeless.
Oh no!
Hear me out on this
okay.
before you jump. Part of it is luck. I mean, no one sets out to go to the street. Part of it with that guy is he likes he has always enjoyed to some degree a certain bit of his down, like a down on his luck kind of thing.
Oh, so
okay,
so he likes little being homeless.
I don't know if likes the right word. He likes being in the shit of things sometimes. I kind of like that's a personal theory. Some people, but again, I've nearly starved to death. I've been going through rough time. I've gone through rough times before in my life.
Starved to death?
I nearly starved to death, man. Yeah, once upon a time.
Damn.
Yeah.
What happened?
That's a conversation for another podcast.
All right.
The point is, though, whenever he goes to talk about how hard his life is with me, he really can't. Because not only have I been kind of where he was, I got out. So Beatty, when he looks at Montag, sees a younger version of himself. A younger version that might have courage to ask the questions he never did. right?
Like Montag's not quite as jaded as he is. I
Oh,
guess.
no. It's not just not quite as jaded. He's got his eyes open to the whole world. That's an incredible spot. Who knows what Montag's gonna do with it, right?
Yeah.
You give people ideas on how they can be. I encourage people to be the best versions of themselves, and the reason I do that is because I want people to go as far as they can, right? Well, I can be an asshole and say you'll never go anywhere, but who the fuck would want to be around that all the time, right?
Nobody.
So nobody, right? So, but then I would meet somebody that would ignore everything I said and do it anyway, in spite of everything I've said. And you know what? I wouldn't be able to stand that person. That's Beatty.
Yeah, I mean yeah. I mean with Montag, it's an interesting thing. There's almost sections of Fahrenheit 451, and I would say even Ray Bradbury's writing in general, it almost feels like you're dreaming.
Yeah.
Especially in this, like, you know, it was a pleasure to burn. You know, that's the first line of the book.
No, of course. That little part of you that loves seeing the destruction of things.
Yeah, even I have it. I love.
Well, no, everybody does. Listen, man. There is a college in Snowflake, Arizona, where I actually lived, where during exam time they will charge $1 for you to break some old clay pots. And the thing is that it's all crap. It's all stuff's going to be has to be destroyed, like all that shit, right? So you're actually doing them a favor destroying it. But here's the thing: there's people that have this need to break something, and when you hear the sound, you feel better.
Yeah.
Right? There's just something about that sound that's therapeutic. There's a little there is a little part of us that enjoys destruction, and honestly, it's not a terrible thing, right? In and of itself, it's what we do with it, right? It's part of our makeup, and you know. That urge, that pleasure to burn is that pleasure to, there's just a little bit. Listen, there's a little bit of us that, okay, if we're not involved in it and no one's seriously hurt, we enjoy watching a car crash. We enjoy watching. We enjoy watching someone get it.
You know how everyone says it's like a train crash. You just can't look away.
Yeah. Or there's the when someone's getting arrested. There's a little bit of you that is enjoying that, right?
Yeah.
Unless it's you. Unless it's you. If you're involved, it sucks. But
no. That's kind of what I. But it's interesting with Montag. It again kind of goes back to the world, like deep. Even at the beginning, like deep down, he's like kind of dissatisfied. Like he doesn't really, but he doesn't know why.
Yeah, that's a lot of people.
But look, until he meets Clarice, which that's another thing I've always wondered. Do you think she was one of the readers, or do you think she was just one of those people who was just naturally curious and just kind of? I
like her as naturally curious. Just someone. Look, the most curious people in the world are kids. Yeah. And honest to God, sometimes what they are curious about is so profound. Mm-hmm. So
it's kind of funny because you'll just rattle on. I'll be like, oh yeah, but Montag's just like, oh yeah, I love this.
Well, no, because it's different. He's not dealing with the same old shit. Mm-hmm. I had a job interview in Windsor, and I'm just being me. I broke the guy that was interviewing me.
Made him broke laugh?
Him. Oh, I cracked him hard, hard. But here's why I cracked him. I didn't crack him because of anything I said. Like the question I go, so what's your biggest weakness as a worker? It's like, I'm not always as organized as I should be. And he started laughing right then, right there. And then he comes up. There's no bullshit with you. It was so refreshing to him. He didn't have to hear the same garbage every single day. That is so refreshing when you have someone that's going to present something different to you. That is amazing. I love that. And we all do. We don't. Do you know my least favorite fucking question to answer is how are you?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm always asking how you doing.
Oh no. I'll tell you why.
I'm trying to be
Because
a good friend, Josh.
no. I'll tell you why. It's my least favorite question because for the most part, no one gives a shit. Yeah, right. No, seriously. I will tell you about my day. I got no problem telling you about a day, but most of the time when you ask how are you, it's like fine or good. Why fine or good? Because they mean fuck all. Fine doesn't mean anything. What is fine? Fine is this like what? This paper from a police officer because he did something stupid? What is fine? What is good? What is nice? Like none of that shit matters. But how much of that bullshit, when you go outside into the world every single day, do you hear? More than you'd like to. And at some point, it's going to hit you. It's like, do you know what I really want? I want someone just to tell me the fucking truth. I don't give a shit about what. I just want to hear it. Right? And that's the thing, right? It's not. So when Montag and Clarice are interacting, and she's not in the book for very long. Like she's gone after like page 25. Right? She's gone.
Didn't she die, or is it not clear? It's
not clear. I always thought she got killed. She was just too curious for her own good. But that's my theory. Depending on a movie you watch, she ends up part of the group that's marching with all their like collection of books in their head that they're memorized. But they don't really say. And really, at that point in the book, it's not really about her. It's about Montag, what he does with what she did to him. But he was looking for something different, more. That whole idea of there is more out there. And it's
the examined life, you could say.
Yeah.
Pull from Socrates.
Or even, you could break Christianity down to one sentence. That's this. There is more. That's it. You can break the whole Bible down to just one sentence, and that's the sentence. There's more. There's got to be more to life than this. That's what it is. It's not, again, it's not rocket science, right? It's just that desire, that yearning to go beyond what we know to see just what is out there. There's got to be more to life than this. Especially if you got a shitty job, with a shitty wage, with shitty people. Like there's so many people there's so many people that settle for monotony on some level. That's like you gotta ask yourself, like, what the fuck are you doing? Right? There's gotta be more than this, isn't there? And for some people, I mean that's it. That is the whole thing in a nutshell, is that Montag, I'm doing all these things I'm supposed to do. Like I'm married, I got a wife who doesn't give a fuck. And I
tried to kill herself one night just on the fucking whim, you know.
Yeah, just I got this little thing going on. I got these giant like fucking TVs I don't give a shit about. I'm burning books, and I'm like, why the fuck am I burning books? I don't know. There's got to be more than this. And then Clarice gave him permission to ask those questions, and that was her role in the story. Are you happy? Again, what is happiness? But that is a question that we all have to ask ourselves.
I think it also, to kind of talk about the themes of the book real quick, again, I don't mean to interrupt, but it's also about that kind of difference between happiness and hedonism, I guess.
Nah, if you want that, it's a commentary on the American dream a little bit, in my opinion.
Really? That's interesting.
Because, okay, he had it all. Seriously.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah. I never thought of it like that. But...
He had it all. He had a good-ish job. I mean, ish. He had a good-ish life, ish.
Nightmare if you're an avid reader.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a little bit of that, but I mean, but again, let's put the books down for just a second. He had a perfect life. He had the job. He had the dream job. He had the dream wife. Fuck me, that's your dream, but that's okay. He had the giant ass TVs. He had a home life, and he was something. He wasn't happy, but he was something. He was content. He was comfortable. How many
complacent.
times how many times have you seen the American dream bullshitted on television about a beer commercial? Hey man, you drink this beer, you get to go party with these pretty women, you get to do all this stupid shit that nobody actually truly believes. It's a fantasy. And the thing is,
Well,
that's
people
the thing.
do like distractions.
Well, we do. We do. And that's the whole thing. The whole lifestyle.
If I remember, even Beatty's like, it's not even that it's not. This government didn't come out of nowhere. It didn't do this. It's here because you're letting it be here. They could have stepped out and said, no, we're not going to take this anymore, but they're still letting it happen. And they're letting them do all this stuff with authority.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is true. Like, this is true. Look.
It's kind of what we talked about in Transmet. It's just like, this corruption didn't come out of nowhere. You're letting it happen.
Mm-hmm. Like, you want a horrifying thought? Here's a horrifying thought for you. God. I want you to imagine, like honestly, seriously, you're going to get pissed off if you do this, by the way. You're going to get really pissed. Every blatant act of corruption you tolerate every single day in just your daily life.
Oh, geez. Yeah. I can see
everything you tolerate. Everything. Right? Everything from an insurance payment of all fucking things. Right? Here's the thing. Like we live in a world, seriously, insurance is the dumbest thing in the world. You pay for it in the event you need to use it, but when you use it, now you must pay more. Where in the fuck does that actually make sense? Right? And all right, this is a simple small level. Let's not talking about the fact that you're in college right now.
I mean,
how much are you paying? How much are you owing for that? Because let's be honest, like paying for it's absurd now.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So, I mean, those are two really simple ways that like you can
paid my college stuff today, so I got the money to pay for it.
Yeah. Okay. So alone, right?
What?
Alone?
Well. Yes.
Okay. So, for lack of a better term, I'm not going to argue. I don't need to know. It's not my business. But let's just say, for the sake of argument, you're going to be fucked with this loan for years to come. Now, here's the thing. Okay, I just gave two really stupid little examples of how little, your government gives a fuck about you. Right. Right.
Yeah.
And that's the part that again. And folks, seriously, if you really want to piss yourself off for just a minute, all you really got to do, right? All you really got to do is you just have to sit there and just observe your day. How much bullshit do you tolerate, right? That's fucking corrupt. And I'm going to tell you, the answer will piss you off to the nth degree. He's laughing at me because he knows
I'm not laughing at you.
No. Don't interrupt. Let me finish. He's laughing because deep down he knows it's true, right? And the thing is, I'm not sugarcoating it. That's the best. See, that's the part that's refreshing. This is why he's laughing for the same reason that guy at Human Resources is laughing. I'm not bullshitting you. I'm just telling you the way I see it, and that's the refreshing part about it, right? Now, could you imagine a world that honest? But we don't. We don't live in that world. We live in a world where people will put up with things they never really fully understand. And they wonder why they're angry. And they wonder why they're pissed off. They wonder why they're not happy. And that's what the book's really about.
Yeah.
You're like,
I was about to be like, no, I mean, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
I totally understand what you're saying.
Yeah, you get it, right? And that's it. That's why the book's so.
I don't know. It's kind of like you get used to it after a while.
Well, of course. Well, here's the thing. Sometimes you don't even know what's happening. But that's the other thing too. Like, you don't always know it's happening or why is it happening the way it's happening. Like, why? Okay, I mean, that's the thing with Monte. He why are we burning these books? Like, why the fuck are we burning these things? Right? Like, he ultimately, that's the question he asks himself. And Beatty tells him.
Because they don't fucking care, is what he
No,
says.
but no, that's part of what he says. The other part of what he says is, it's not that they don't want these ideas out there. Because if I give somebody an idea, if I can convince you that you're an amazing human being that's worth something, and that you should fight for that something, well, if everyone's doing that, someone's going to get it. And once one person gets it, everybody else inevitably will too. And suddenly the world as we know it changes. Right? Now, that's one application to the idea. Like, that's just one idea going in your head. The only idea that really matters is that you're worth something. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah.
That's just one idea. That's just one idea. Books teach us to understand. Like, this is okay. Go bring the books back in. Books, stories teach us to understand each other at the best, like at their very best and core. That's what books do. That's what they're supposed to do. Right? It's not just me being put into. It's not just me being put into.
It's kind of why else's... I take. Or again, I don't mean to interrupt. I know it's my show and all, but it's like that. That's kind of why I take issue with the censorship argument. It's kind of like, yes, it's about that, but it's kind of like, I think it's deeper than that. I don't think you're fully like, getting the point.
It's definitely no. It's definitely, again, the dystopian aspects of the book.
I'm not saying it's not about that. I'm just saying I think that's a bit simplistic. I guess that's a better way to put it.
No, okay. The burden of knowledge is, if we know something, we see the world differently. But what if everybody had the same knowledge? I did something fun here, and if the audience follows it, they're going to have some very pissed off listeners. Right? But imagine everybody knew it. Everybody knows that all this shit's corrupt. Everybody. Okay? What do? Right? You can now, if everybody's got the idea that the system's up, the next question that's going to eventually hit is, why am I going along with this?
Mm-hmm.
Why am I doing that? Right? Now, if it's just one person, it's easy. I'm the only one here. But if everybody's got the same idea, why the fuck am I putting up with this? Suddenly it's a very different thought, a different way of doing things. And that's why ideas, like, again, this is why the censorship part of this is super important, because, again, Beatty's the villain, because up until, like, the big reveal is nobody knows but Montag. So why is if only everybody saw it this way? And Beatty's is the antithesis of this. It's like, no, I see it your way, and I think it must be destroyed. But the reason there is Beatty learned to hate everybody because he was by himself, right? Montag met Clarice, and to a lesser extent, Beatty.
Sorry, my dog.
No, it's okay. I hear it. I hear your dog. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a dog that's very, very unhappy.
Oh, you come here. Yeah,
it's okay.
There's the animal. Here's the animal part of the show for the clicks. Hello.
It's all for the clicks. That's right. All about them clicks, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh gosh, yeah, those tasty views. Give it all. Give me all those views.
So there you go.
Kidding.
That's like it's like censorship's a big part of the story. I mean, the essay one, the essay.
It's not.
No. Stop. Right? Silent. One of the two essays deals with that very concept, like at the very end of the book. Like the coda of the book are the two essays, and one of them is just strictly about the censorship aspects of the books, like kind of one of his worst nightmares, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, no, it is the censorship book, but where I'm with you is it's not just the censorship book.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I should note. I'm not saying it's not about censorship. It definitely is, but
yeah.
But I think there's a lot more going on than just the censorship.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. No, again, it's about, honestly, if you want, it's an indictment on it's a little bit of an indictment on the American dream, actually, a little bit.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of an indictment, right? So,
It's like look at this bullshit that we do all the time. Look at all this bullshit that we're stuck
yeah.
with, and you just deal with it.
Well,
Stop
no,
it.
yeah,
Stop it right now.
well, that's it. Like that's what, like, it's in many ways like the way to overcome any system is to understand each other, right? That's it. Um, like today, like in today's time, like okay, now, fair warning, folks, this is a bit of a political bent, but not left or is better than right or right is better than left. I have a my
All right.
I hate I hate both equally, but for so but
It's funny you say that before you go into that. I think it's why I get so, I've complained to you before about like my family believing in like conspiracy bullshit. That's probably why I'm so pissed off about it. It's like I see this every single freaking day of my life. I have to deal with this shit every day of my life.
Mhm.
And it's finally just like, why the hell do you believe this?
But have you asked them?
No.
You need
Cause I'm too pissed off to be like.
No. So you this is my advice to you, strictly honestly. It might not be as crazy as you think. It might be crazier than you think. I'm not going to promise what the answer is going to be to that question. But you ask the question, you don't talk, and you let them explain it to you. Because if you're going to change someone's mind, they have to feel heard. If you're not listening, you're not going to change their mind.
Yeah.
Now,
what were you going to say?
Well, I'm not saying on that. Well, I'll go ahead and say, here's the caveat. Okay, here's the caveat to this. This is the warning. Okay, you will get an answer, and that answer might hurt you more than the question. So, if you do go down this path, right, it might be easier just to let it go. That's your choice. I'm not saying don't. I'm not saying it, but if you really want to understand where they're coming from, you have to ask. Just be forewarned, the answer might hurt your brain, and so I'm sorry.
Thought you meant like hurt your feelings. I'm like,
no. No. Sometimes
I was about to say, I don't think it hurts my feelings. My brain
probably. No. It might, and if it does, I'm going to just say this up front. I'm sorry. Right. But sometimes you're going to get it. Sometimes when you ask, you're going to get a very profound answer, and that answer might change at least a little. You still might not agree with them, but you'll understand, and you won't be as angry about it. Some of them, you might be angrier. It's fair warning. So, but I saw a post on Facebook today about it's a privilege not to talk about politics, and I said that's not why I don't want to talk about like politics. Politics to me is more about we have a broken system, and instead of talking about a broken system and the flaws therein, even sometimes have to go down maybe that conspiracy rabbit hole a little bit because some of it's true, right? You have people going, well, my guy is better than your guy, even though, or my party is better than your party, or my leader is better than your leader, and if you examine both of them, it's the moral right judgment there isn't there. So, and this is what pisses people off. People want a viable alternative, not the same old. And yeah, so and the reason I say that is we get caught up in it, and the reason why people get caught up with this stuff is you listen to a particular narrative from a giant ass TV, And then suddenly, right, and a giant ass
Is
TV
this where
says,
this
well,
comes back to Fahrenheit 451? Because they
yeah,
also
it's
have giant
like,
TVs.
well, no, just the giant TV, but the idea that lack of self awareness, right, that lack of looking at the whole system. If there's a problem here with one guy, well, how did he get there? And then you got to look, that forces you to look at the other guy and go, what did he do or didn't do to make it work, to make this guy possible? Right. And that answer sometimes is a little terrifying, because then it's like, oh shit, they're the same, or oh shit, he's an idiot, or oh shit, right? Whatever the answer you find. But we don't often look to listen to each other anymore. We look instead to just blanket statement. Here's your box that you're going to put you in, and you're going to stay there. And whenever I hear an idea from this box, I'm just going to go, la, 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 la.
I mean, I have a... I mean, this is kind of going to digress a little bit, but I sort of... I've always noticed that there's this kind of narrative nowadays that it's like, this is like this sort of... I don't want to call it... Because, you know, it's kind of why the last couple years of my country's history has happened because of this whole thing, but it's like you said, it's almost like this is what's right, this is what you should believe in, and if you have any deviations from that, you're what's a good word for it? You're strange, you're different,
you're a conspiracy theorist, you believe in misinformation or disinformation.
Well, yeah.
That's what I hate those two terms so much.
It's why it's kind of like with Joe Rogan. People call him like a racist and a conspiracy peddler. It's not really. And if you watch his, not really. He's interested in ideas.
Well, yeah.
He wants to explore. Now, do I always agree with him? No. But it's sort of why it's kind of the same. It's kind of, we talked about Heinlein a while back, and it's sort of the same thing. They're just interested in ideas, and they want to really explore those ideas.
Sure.
They may not agree with them, but they want to explore. They actually want to talk about them rather than just be like, "That's wrong." Which, now if it's, there's probably stuff like racism. Well, yeah, that's wrong. But if it's something like, here's this different perspective on this thing, I saw it a lot with, when Trump was president. Here's this different perspective. It's just, it's kind of why I don't know if that makes any sense, but that's just always what's driven me crazy about the political situation in my home country.
So it's okay. My home country isn't much better, dude. Like we have nepotism, greed, and the same incompetent stupidity up here. In some ways, we're worse than you. In some ways, we're better. In some ways, we're worse. But I mean, how to put this? The idea of exchanging ideas is the core tenet, and I'm tying this back to the novel here. The idea of exchanging ideas, and whether we agree or disagree is irrelevant. It's not about that. It's about understanding where the other guy's coming from.
Mm-hmm.
And if you understand that, you can, if not agree, at least work with it, right? And
I agree. We're not listening. So that's why we're in the situation we're in right now.
Correct. And who benefits from that? Right? And that's the honest truth, right?
People in power, nobody. I don't know. Because there's sometimes I'm like, you know what? I don't think these politicians are, I don't think they know any better than we do. I think they're just as floating in the wind as we are.
They're some of them are the dumbest fucks I've ever talked to in my life. Some of them.
There's even the smart people here. Just good Lord, I remember I talked to my dad.
So I've interviewed a couple politicians. One of the things I learned is they do believe their own bullshit. I understand why.
You kind of have to when you.
Yeah, no, you have to. If you don't believe it, dude, they're not going to convince anybody else. Right? But every once in a while, and now if they're honest about it, and this is the thing, to really measure a politician's integrity, listen to how they answer the question. If they answer it relatively honest, but okay, they will sometimes hint at it very strongly, like that maybe this perspective isn't my perspective, but this is my party's perspective, and I'm playing ball. Sometimes they're really all in. Like I honestly, I can kind of respect that to a point too, but an honest man would not do some of the bullshit I've seen, and that's
Well,
that's
lying
but
is kind of part of being a politician.
sure,
That's something I've grown to understand. It's like, a lot of people bitch about politicians lying. They're trying to get people to vote for them. It's not right, but
well, except there's one little problem, and that's this: if my leaders lack integrity, why should I have integrity?
Well, yeah, there you go.
Right, that's the problem with it. But what I was going to say is, no, it's not that they necessarily are having this master plan. I think that's a bit much. Like I said, talk to some of them if you can. Honestly, the biggest argument against a giant conspiracy, is sometimes just talk to one or two of them. I promise you, when your IQ drops, you actually will feel your brain just go, what is going on?
Your brain just like, what?
Yeah, it's like, this makes no sense. I don't understand. So you will feel that sometimes. It's not that, but the system as it is broken, and it's not going to change. If we're fighting each other, it will never change. So that's just reality. I think that's something that, like I said, going back to the core idea of the book, we have to connect with each other. We're more alike than we're different, right?
Yeah,
we are more alike than we are different.
Humanity's a weird thing, because it's like, everyone's always like, oh, everyone's a different person, which, yeah,
true.
But at the same time, we're really similar. We all similar. We all just want to hang. It's like you said once. We all sometimes just want to sit back and just be silent for a while.
That's it. We're not complicated. Now, how we do it sometimes is a little different, but we're not essentially we don't want what we want isn't that different or that inhuman.
You just want things to make sense. At least I do sometimes.
Sure. I think for the most part we just want to be free to do our thing, and that's it. I think that's most of us, and want to be left alone to do it. That's pretty much it. Like, whether it makes sense or not, I don't fucking know. Like, I look, at this point in my life, I'm not sure of a whole hell of a lot, Britton. In fact, the older I get, the less sure I am. Right? But what I do know is, going back into the book, it's about connection. It's about beauty. It's about the things we've made. And some of it's truly, truly beautiful. One of my least favorite parts of the story was, and again, partly because of my faith, but also just partly just because of the work involved. So he was trying to get information from the resistance guys, or not the guys that are wandering with their stories in their head. He actually had a copy of the Bible. And once had to get what he wanted, was started to rip the Bible to shreds right in front. No, don't do that. Right? And right? But there are there's some truly and not just the Bible, there's some truly beautiful works of art out there.
And literature, and as much as video game, whatever.
Well, no, just in general. Look, even the giant ass TV. Look, I don't know what I'd do with one if I had one at this point in my life, but it's beautiful to someone somewhere, and that's fine. It's okay to again, it's okay. I have a buddy, he's a plumber. He comes home, most of the time he plays video games, and he just he chills with his wife, right? He's happy, right? There's nothing wrong with that.
yeah. That's sometimes the downfall. Or it's kind of the downside of navel gazing is sometimes. Do you think there's such a thing as thinking too deeply? Because I've grappled with this before, and I think there is, but I'm curious what you might say because you're an older man than I.
I would say yes, but okay. So here's the question: are you worrying about something you can control?
I have, but
then and what good does that do?
Doesn't really do much.
You're right. That's the line. That's the line. Can I control this result? And to the rest of it doesn't really fucking matter. And not really. Right? Not really.
It's kind of a frustrating part, you know? You're just like, man.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not frustrated about it at all.
I wish people cared more. I think a lot of people understand that.
I wish not that people cared more. I wish that people knew more.
Yeah.
Because I think people already care, but sometimes it's about what we need to know.
Yeah.
So what's your favorite scene in the book?
My favorite scene in the book, again, probably when he reads the poetry to his wife and she's just like, what? And one of the other ladies just starts crying and she's like, I forget exactly what she says, but basically the gist of it is like, I forgot that we could feel this.
Well, she's feeling sad. She's feeling sad. It's like, why do people want to feel sad? Why would I?
It's probably the book's most poignant moment for me, you know? It's been a while since I read it, but I just, you know, it's just like, it's also, for me, it's like, that's the beauty of reading a great work of literature, or you know, playing a great game, or watching a great film, or show, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's that kind of, that's why that appeals to me. I also just like, you know, I like when Beatty just shows up at his house and just basically starts grilling him and basically tells him without actually saying it that he knows he's reading on the side, so he just
that's my favorite is the Hound of the Baskervilles. We gotta mention it. It's there. You gotta mention it. It's
creepy
there.
Robot dogs, and they're described as like half alive and half dead.
Yeah,
it's really weird.
Zombie dogs, zombie canines. I totally could see us trying that shit. We're nuts enough.
We're weird. Human beings are weird, man. We like weird things, and
that might be the most truest statement you've ever said.
It's like Joseph Conrad once said, man is capable of the most vile wickedness. Or something of that sort.
Oh, absolutely. We absolutely are.
I wouldn't say there's a lot of depravity in this book, though.
Well, there's not. There's not a lot.
Though Montag does burn Beatty alive, and the captain anyway, and I don't know why. I kind of feel bad when he dies, even though he's just jerk. He's just complete...
Because he's a tragedy.
He's a douche. The whole book, he's like, "Hey, Montag, how's it going?"
But
he's always like fucking hassling him, but he even says like he wanted him to do it.
Yeah, of course he did. I already told you why.
Because he hates everybody and he hates himself.
Last one. Montag had courage. He didn't. And maybe it was because Montag actually had someone that understood him, at least initially.
So is it like Montag had that faith and the captain didn't?
I don't know. Like, here's the thing about Beta. You can argue why he didn't. He didn't. I mean, there's a lot of arguments for it.
Because again, it just kind of it's always thrown me for a loop that he just goes along with it, even though like he's smart enough to realize like, yo, this is whack.
I mean, okay, so here's the flip side, okay? No, I mentioned this earlier. I want you to put this in perspective. He was by himself for how long? Well, they don't actually,
at least, like he's a man at this
point. Well, no. With this knowledge, he was by himself. So he's a man, so he's afraid to share the knowledge. because he'd lose his job and his life, right?
Mm-hmm.
He was scared that way. And remember, Montag had Clarice. Clarice was the one that actually kind of woke Montag up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So
there's also sorry, continue what you were saying. I was gonna mention something, but I'll wait.
Yeah, so he's by himself for years. Where do you go? What do you do? One could argue that Beatty was, and this is why he's a bit of he's a tragedy. Maybe if someone had known what Beatty had known at the right time, Beatty himself would have found his own way out. Maybe. Maybe not.
Yeah.
Who can say for sure? But that's the thing about Beatty. That's why he's a tragedy. He could have gone a different way, and he chose not to. But part of that was, unlike Montag, Montag was by himself.
Yeah. But it's more like he's cynical. Beatty's cynical, while Montag is more like, oh, look at this cool stuff I'm learning about.
But why
is everyone not talking about this?
Yeah, but again, where does that cynicism come from?
Experience.
Yeah, what experience? He's by himself.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And he decided that, he would find what joys and comforts he had in this life. So he did what he did. Still read from time to time. So there's always a little. So there was a little bit of.
If I remember, he quotes like class or some sort, or he quotes something at him.
Shakespeare.
Shakespeare. Yeah.
It's Shakespeare. He quotes on him. This is a guy that's well read. So he's, like I said, he's a tragedy. That's why you feel bad about it a little bit, because he's not. Once upon a time, there was a chance for Beatty to be Montag. At least once upon a time.
But he didn't.
He didn't. And as to the hows and the whys, we'll never fully know. But for me, the answer to me was always Beatty was by himself, completely. And there's pros and cons to that. But one of the cons was he had no one to help, to guide him. No one to share it with. No one to share it with. But also, Montag got to see the dark side up close and personal every night. Right?
He's that one lady who burned herself alive rather than lose her books. Which, you know what? Relatable.
But also, his wife coming home to his wife going, "This is all there fucking is."
Yeah.
Right?
There's almost an existential nature to it.
Yeah, so Montag had he had plenty of reasons to despise the system as it was anyway. But now, again, he had a catalyst that Beatty never had. He had Clarice.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That was a big difference. My favorite Clarice moment was when she was actually trying to catch raindrops in her mouth.
Oh, yeah. And she tries to get Montag to do it.
Yeah.
There's also, what I was going to say is, another one is just, how casual everything is. His wife tries to, I don't know if she was intentionally trying to kill herself or if she just overdosed on accident, but she just overdoses and they're just like, oh, okay. And then these doctors just come in and pump her out and they're just like, all right. See you later. That always kind of threw me for a loop,
That's actually that's also oddly prophetic today. But
yeah.
But again, we live in a world where people are again, from a mental health standpoint, people aren't happy. I don't even know what the statistics are anymore. How many people are on some form of medication in the United States today?
Well, I'm one of them, but a bunch of people.
Yeah, but let me ask you something. Okay, I'm not saying you don't need it. I'm not saying what I'm going to point out is, if there's more people that need medicine than people that don't, what does that say about the world we currently live in?
Kind of fucking sucks. This is what I gotta say.
Like I said, don't ask that question I asked you at the beginning. You're going to come back to me very pissed off. How much corruption do I put up with day in and day out?
It's another one. You're just like, good lord.
You will be very mad at yourself, and I'm just, again, I'm going on the road for a reason, dude. I'm gonna be. I joke with people. I'm gonna be a supervillain by 50. I probably will be.
God help us if that happens. That's all I'll say.
Come on, I'd have an obnoxious red cape. It'll be glorious.
No, but yeah, Montag. He also meets Faber. I forgot about him. I forget exactly how they meet, but but I do know that he's also like, hey, here's all these cool books.
Yeah,
check it out. And Montag's like, ooh.
That's right, because Faber's got the stash, man. He's got the stash.
It's just like in the narrative, he's like, you know what? I'm just gonna take one. I'm gonna take one. I want to see what all the fuss is about. I think there's something very human about that. It's like,
sure.
You know, it's just like the Garden of Eden. You know, why not take the apple? You're curious of what's gonna happen.
Well, not only that, just there's Pandora's box.
Alice Pandora's box. That's another good one.
Or Alice following the rabbit down the rabbit hole. It's the same basic human nature. Look, what happens if? Okay, what happens if I read this book? Like, will it be that terrible? It wasn't.
Yeah, I have a friend. His name's Jason, and he doesn't like Shakespeare, and that's so disappointing to me. I'm like, oh my gosh.
I don't hate somebody for disliking Shakespeare.
No, I don't hate him. He's a great guy. It's just kind of disappointing. I'm like, oh man, like, it's the same. It's why I relate to him reading poetry, and they just don't get it. I'm like, look at this beautiful thing, and you're not getting it. You know.
I'll be right back. I'm gonna turn the light on here real quick.
Yeah, I'll say it looked like it was getting dark in there.
Yeah. One sec. Yeah. Not that. Anything's Clarice. Oh. So, yeah. There we go. I look like a human being again.
Yeah, it's just kind of it's just like, look at this beautiful thing, and you don't like, and it's just you don't get it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, so, I mean, I get why someone might not like Shakespeare. I mean, the language is certainly archaic.
It's also just like some of that stuff it's better seen than read.
Exactly. Yeah, that too.
Right. Some of it's really good read, but I'm not here to.
I mean, I like the language of it, but at the same time, I do agree with you. Sometimes it's better to see it.
Yep. I mean, honestly, 12th Night is way funnier seen than read. Just way funnier. Just my opinion. But again, what do I know? Folks, I just have a big mouth. That's what I do.
Oh, right. Lord, if you were in the world of 1984, God help you, man. That's all I'll say.
Oh, are you kidding? I'd cause all kinds of chaos and mayhem. I already know exactly what I'd do in that kind of world. I already have and I mean, I might get shot, but I'd have fun doing it. So, I mean, that's people look at you and go, "That's crazy." It's like that's where I'm at in my life. I'm not. I don't like. Britton, I mean, not to sound like a badass or anything like that, but I don't give a shit about very much. Like, I'm pretty honest, I'm pretty open, and honestly, like, I'm not gonna work very hard to lie to you. I don't care enough. Like, I legitimately don't care enough. This is who I am. You like me, great. You don't, great. That's fine. That's wonderful. I'm past the point of giving a fuck in that way. Here's what I care about. I'd be the best version of me I can be. That's it. That's all we can do at the end of the day. And I'd take it or leave it. In a world like that, I'd stick out like a sore thumb. I'd be Billy the Kid. I'd be okay being Billy the Kid in a world like that.
Or even Fahrenheit 451, you just start chaos around the...
I cause chaos now. I tell people to believe in themselves. I make enough ripples in the world. So I wanted to show you something. So I'm actually doing a retelling of Fahrenheit 451.
Oh, are you? Oh yeah, you are. That's why I got you on for this. You were gonna, you said you were gonna.
Yeah, so I showed you sites. So folks, these are early-ish drawings. Me trying some stuff out. I said I'd do it. So the story I'm doing is called Lights Out. The idea behind it is, instead of books, it's about art. But I did throw in some homages to the original. So it's about a gentleman by the name of Montag. Why
You're really
not?
going thick with the retelling.
Then damn right. I am.
Are you nervous about getting sued or getting like copyright infringement or?
No, different story. It's the same story but a different one. It's a haunt. I openly listen. Do you want to hear the book that Montag steals to get in trouble with the law?
What is it?
I'll see if you get it. I'll see if you can get it in one.
Dr. Seuss?
Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury.
Oh my god!
Why? Why?
Of course.
Why not? Why wouldn't it be that, right?
I thought you were gonna say Dr. Seuss or something. I'm like, oh man.
No. It's the only real book in the story. So here's the big difference. So instead of, he has to spend 30 days in a world without technology. He has to do community service. So instead of books, he starts drawing. It's a slightly different take on the story, but ultimately it's about the same thing. It's about the human spirit and happiness in the darkest nights of the soul. And that is what Fahrenheit 451 is ultimately about. It's about, even in the darkest moments in our time, we still have wonderful people doing magical things. You still have 17-year-old girls trying to catch rain in their mouths. You still have people telling stories long after the world has ended. Right? You still have people finding the courage to find their happiness. No matter what time in history. That's the amazing thing about that story. What scares me is, again, that lack of self-awareness we have. But again, the light and the dark is always represented. Like, light and darkness are always represented in stories like this. And the darkness is our desire to not know.
Our desire to not know?
Sometimes, like I said, I mentioned this earlier. You're gonna ask, if you ask any of your family why they believe in certain conspiracy theories, you're gonna come out of this going, "I wish I hadn't known." Some of them, some of them you might understand, but some of them you're gonna be like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah.
Right, and that's it, and that's okay. That's fine. Like, look, you just understand. You'll come out of that and you'll be like, "I wish I had known," and that understanding of that feeling will hit you, and you'll be like, I get it. I get why people get this way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I get what you're saying. It's definitely a I think that's why it's an impactful story, I guess. Though though again, I'm more partial to like the Martian Chronicles and especially something this wicked this way comes, because I just think that's a beautiful story, and it's one of those books that actually feels magical.
Yes,
it's not easy to do. I should know.
No,
that really makes you feel like a kid and go like, oh man, the world is awesome. How many books do you read where you go, man, the world is an amazing place, and I want to go out there and fucking go make a difference in the world? Like how often people deride that shit as silly. I'm telling you, because we're so cynical nowadays.
Do you want the answer to that question? The honest answer?
Sure, I don't know if I'm gonna like it, but you can say it.
Every time.
What?
Every time.
Their free time?
No, every time.
Every time.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Okay. I'm gonna bring a book here. Out to the open here. This is what I'm reading right now. Okay.
Oh boy. Brandon
Big one.
Sanderson. Brandon Sanderson.
Okay, Mr. Sanderson. Or Mr. Brandon, as I like to call him, Mr. Brandon. I interviewed Terry Moore very early on in the podcast. And what struck me with him was that every moment to him seemed like magic. And I realized, and his whole thing is, again, this goes back to something I said earlier, there's more. So every person around you, including yourself, lives in their own world. None of us actually live in the same world. What's he doing? Okay.
I'm talking with someone, so give me a
I
second.
can't hear you now. I can't hear Mr. Britton here. Okay. We have technical difficulties, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm just going to say this because this is probably going to get edited out anyway. We're going to the YMCA.
Sorry, my mom was talking to me.
No, it's all good. It's all good. So the answer to your question is every time. And the reason why is no one lives in the same world, Britain.
Is this the part where you're going to say like everyone is different?
Everyone sees the world differently.
Well, yes.
Right?
But at the same time, we're also kind of the same.
Well, no. We all want the same thing, but we all see the world differently. And I think that's a neat thing. Which means that every time I read a book, I'm reading from somebody else's world. That's infinitely fascinating to me. The world's bigger than I am. The world's amazing because it is bigger than I am. And every time I read a book, every time or every time I see something like, I found on YouTube 2 days ago a version of Amazing Grace sung by a metal singer.
Mm-hmm.
It might be the most beautiful thing I've ever heard. It hits you so hard in the best way. It's like I never imagined Amazing Grace that way. And it's not metal. It's not really a metal song. He's very true to hymn. But the way he sings it and performs it is just, I never would have imagined hearing something like that. Beautiful things happen all the time. So
I don't know if you've ever watched America's Got Talent, but there's this guy. His name was Cody. He maybe I'll send you the video later, but he's like autistic. He was blind, and he did this rendition of the song. I don't remember the name of the song, but it was amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No, sometimes I'll seek out videos. I'm like, you know what? As much navel gazing as I do, and how disappointing and how much things suck sometimes, there's good things in the world too.
Sure.
And that's worth fighting for, you know?
I would go so far to say, Mr. Britton, there's more good things than bad. But again, that wonderful experiment we were talking about, like how much shit you put up with on a day-to-day basis, right? It comes in like turd-like shapes, the bad stuff. Whereas the good stuff you have to actively seek out in this day and age. But it's there, like the magic's real, and it's a beautiful thing.
But the point I was making was something this way comes like, it's not often I read a book where I'm like, man, I want to go out and just like make somebody's day better. And that's
that book's a good one.
And I guess that's what I like about Ray Bradbury. He never lost that whimsy.
No.
He never lost that pure love of storytelling and that enthusiasm for life.
The enthusiasm for life is the big one.
Yeah.
That's the thing he never truly lost. And it's
I think
amazing.
it's a beautiful thing. I wish
Yeah.
more people had that. Because I think the world would be better.
Yeah, well, indeed. So you gotta make sure you don't lose it then, huh? And
it's tough. It's really easy to lose that kind of part of yourself.
Only if you let it.
Yeah. It says somewhere in 1984, it's up to you.
Yeah. No, it is. Look, the whole thing is all this bad stuff that happens because we let it.
Yeah.
One of my favorite quotes of all time is from, of all things, Highlander the series. Evil can only men if good men do nothing.
Yeah. I think Edmund Burke said that first,
yeah.
But yes.
So, sometimes the most rebellious thing you can do is simply look in the world and smile. Right? Sometimes the most rebellious thing you can do. And it's the best.
But yeah, if I want to sit down and just have like just want to think about life and be happy about life, like, you know, Ray Bradbury's good. Not that he didn't have his darker moments, but
no, Ray Bradbury is a fantastic choice. The way to do it. Few people have that zest for life. But Fahrenheit is my favorite book because it made me feel more than any of his other books did. Not that his other books were bad. Quite the contrary, they were all great. But that was the first book that made me feel the way that it did, and that's why it's my favorite.
Yeah, I mean, even kind of going on my little rant about Ray Bradbury being just an awesome person. Like, even you'll see like an old video of him from like when he was old and he was like, you know, not in the best of health. He's still moving like he's 12, like he's a kid. And I wish we had more of that. Because if we did, the world would be better. I really do think so.
I was a day away from meeting Ray Bradbury.
You were?
A day away.
You are or you were?
Were. He's no longer alive. But I was. So I just came back from San Diego Comic-Con not too long ago.
Yeah, I saw you post about it.
Yep. The first time I went was 15 years ago. Ray Bradbury always did San Diego Comic-Con on Saturday.
Oh, did you not meet him? Oh, dude.
I had to leave Friday. Looking back, I kind of wish I had stayed to find a way to go in the extra day. But I didn't have a way to do it. And I decided that I wasn't going to try. This time around was interesting. When I went to San Diego this time, I found out with 2 weeks' notice. And so I had to make it all work. I did, kind of, sort of. Right? I'm paying for it right now. But I got to go. I don't know. Maybe that one good thing that came from that experience is I just realized if I want to make something happen, I can. But yeah, no, stay away. He used to go to San Diego every Saturday. Every Saturday, that was the one event he was guaranteed to be at.
Mm-hmm. Wasn't there?
He's been dead for a few years, dude.
Well, I know. Yeah.
2000, this year, it's like no, he wasn't there. But yeah, there was lots of people that went and saw him. No, once in a lifetime talent. But he ruined Neil Gaiman. Oh yeah, he was the last. When I started reading science fiction, he was the last one of the guys I started reading that was alive. When I started, he was actually still alive.
Mm. Do you like Oh wait, no, I think you do. You like Harlan Ellison, don't you?
He's okay.
He's okay.
He's okay.
I remember you said you liked him.
I liked him. He's okay. He's okay. He doesn't hit me again. Some people he doesn't hit me like Bradbury hits me.
That's fair. He was I agree with you. He was a once-in-a-lifetime talent.
Yeah.
I mean, if it were me, he would be up there with, like, Dickens and Shakespeare. But, you know, that might be a spicy take for some people.
No, I don't think it is. I think there are a lot of people who read Bradbury and were changed by him. A lot of comic book creators love Bradbury, me included.
I love Bradbury a lot, too. It's one of my top 3 authors, so.
Well, yeah, hold on. So, definitely. But yeah, I think we've covered this bad boy.
Yeah, no. Though, I guess there's one thing I'll ask real quick, which is sort of a topic that's always interested me. Just real quick. I don't want to take too much more.
I'm listening.
But, you know, I've noticed over the years, and I mean, I don't know really what you think about this, but there's this sort of not really a conflict, but it's this sort of weird standard between, like, what is literary and what is genre. Maybe you've heard this discussion
yeah, sure.
before.
I've had this discussion.
And I kind of find it interesting. I mean, it used to irritate me, but now I find it really fascinating. Like, why are these certain books... And I've asked a few people this. I'm like, why are certain books, like Fahrenheit 451, like, considered classics, and there's other great works that aren't? Just because they might be genre, or whatever. Now, I know it's not really a black and white thing now, but it's something that's always interested me. So why do you think Fahrenheit 451 is taken more seriously than something like, I don't know, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? Or Heinlein?
Heinlein is taken seriously. He's got some stuff that's classic, too. Some of it. Not all of it. Heinlein's all... Okay, so... Bradbury didn't just write... Like he's the science fiction author that secretly wrote fantasy.
Yeah, even he... If I remember right, even he said, like, I don't write science fiction. I write fantastical stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is fair, he did. I mean, basically, like, Martian Chronicles is like poetic Barsoom.
Kind of. It's more than that, but yes.
I kind of view it as his take on Barsoom.
I don't. It's his take. He did way more with that than Burroughs did, in my opinion. With less time too, actually, which is odd to say, but it's true. To be honest, I think because this is just Fahrenheit 451. It's the Martian Chronicles. He's got a few other books like The Illustrated Man and a few other ones that are considered classics. And the reason is he wasn't just a science fiction author, considered a science fiction author. He was considered an author even way back in his early career. That was part of it. But he also had an undeniably profound impact. Dick's clever. Dick has some really clever... he's the master of the unexpected twist. But I don't think Dick had the same emotional resonance that Bradbury did.
I don't know. I don't know. Scanner Darkly is a bit of a tearjerker, especially towards the end.
Sure.
Like, there is emotion in his work, I'd say.
Well, no, I'm
then
not.
Again, I'm a huge dickhead. Haha. But seriously, I do really admire his work.
Oh, I'm not saying his work's bad.
Oh, no, I wasn't saying that.
But I also would argue that book for book, there are very few authors that really generated the emotional response that Bradbury did.
Mm-hmm.
That includes Dick. I think Dick had some amazing ideas, but he doesn't have the same gravity of emotion that Bradbury has. And he doesn't. Like, I don't think he does. Now, you might disagree, but I don't think he does. But again, that isn't to say that
I would mostly agree with you, but there are some books I think are just great. But.
Sure, but I would make an argument to you that Vonnegut would fit that comparison better.
I have read Slaughterhouse-5. I do. That's another one. I'm like, well, why is Vonnegut considered good?
But that's why, because Vonnegut was able to do throughout his career. If you look at most, again, I'm not, and this isn't to take away from any author because every author's got some fans somewhere, but some books just touch people more. Like I think Ursula Le Guin's great, but I also know that.
I want to read her so bad. I
Yeah,
just don't know where to start.
But just pick one. They're all good. Pick one. Just throw a dart at it. Pick one and read it. Right? But as good as I think Le Guin is, I can't say she had the same emotional impact, right? And that's
there's some people who might take offense to that.
Well, no.
I'm sure you don't care, but I mean, it's just
no.
Some people might find that a bit spicy.
No, I don't think so. I think it'd be fair. Like, look, I think Wizard of Gristy is one of the best fantasy novels I've ever read. I think The Left Hand of Darkness is a great concept. I think The Deep Possessed is a phenomenal story. Like, she's done some great stuff. But again, if you're talking strictly the emotional, Bradbury was able to not just take you away into a world, like say that magical quality he has, but he made you feel, he made you curious, and he made you laugh, he made you cry.
It's sort of the same reason I like Mark Twain a lot. He has that, like, you could say that Mark Twain is a bit more like caustic, but even in like Tom Sawyer or Huckleberry, there is that sort of adventurous spirit, that love for life.
Well, no, there's adventure, sure, but again, it's not about the event. Look, Stephen King writes some classic stuff that's considered classic today. Some of it's horror, some of it. I would argue the same thing. I think even King would agree with me. It's not about the fact that what emotion you bring to the table. It's that you leave them feeling. I think, I don't know. Even today, there's a lot of authors that have great ideas.
Well, yeah.
But can they make you feel them? That's a different question. Bradbury made you feel them, but all of them, right? And the only ones you can argue against that are the ones in his Twilight. But they said everything he wanted. But he had already said everything he wanted to say, and you got that sense. Right, like his last two short story collections, One More for the Road. There's not really much new ground in that, but it's
him just having fun.
Kind of, yeah. Mostly.
I miss him.
Yeah. So what's your favorite? So my favorite short story of all time is Ray Bradbury's Sound of Thunder.
I do enjoy that story a lot. It's a great time travel story.
It's one of the best ones ever.
Though I do enjoy All You Zombies a lot from Robert Heinlein. That was the one where I was like, yo. He's a real deal.
No. Heinlein's great. Heinlein's amazing. But Heinlein is an interesting study because there's a line with him. I actually just literally had this conversation there's a line with him. I think his juvenile books are better. I'm not the only one that feels that way.
So you're not a Stranger in a Strange Land fan?
I'm okay with it. I don't think it's his best work. I think he wanked off a little bit of Jubal Hellerschall. I think the whole sex cult thing's a little weird.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. Stranger in a Strange Land, I kind of don't read any. I haven't read any more of his books.
Okay, so the weirdest book in post Stranger is I Will Fear No Evil. Gets really bizarre at the end of that book. Like, I mean, more bizarre than what you say, than what it's the most bizarre of all of them. I think the only one, in my opinion, that's worth a full read is Job of Comedy of Justice. That one's pretty fun. That one's fun. It's a little bit more straight on than some of his other ones, but no. But again, Heinlein didn't make you necessarily feel every book either. Like, he had great ideas, great concepts. Love the Puppet Masters. I love The Roads Must Roll. I love Starship Troopers. I love Friday. He's got some really.
Moon is a Harsh Mistress.
That one's fantastic. That one's probably one of his best works. But But again, The Unpleasant Profession of Jonathan Hogue is my favorite story of his. But they don't feel like what Bradbury made you feel.
Yeah, I would agree.
There's good writing, but there's good writing, which is everywhere, and then there's great feeling, which is nowhere.
Very few can do it.
My favorite YA this year has been Marissa Mayer's superhero trilogy.
Yeah, I remember you telling me about that.
Yeah, Renegades, Arch Enemy, Supernova. They all make you feel. Like, I like Victoria Abier. I read her this year. She does some great stuff, but not in Mayer's class. Because Mayer will make you feel shit. Right? And that's just my take. Now again, is that an accurate take? Some people would disagree with me. Cool. But I mean, that's what it comes down to. Universally across the board, Bradbury is pretty much the man, and everybody knows it.
Yeah. Well, like I said earlier, I miss him, you know? I mean, there are a few who have kind of picked up the torch a little bit. Stephen King a little bit sort of has that. Neil Gaiman.
King's got a bit of it. So does Gaiman. So does Dillent.
But never seen it again. Not like Bradbury.
No. And they're not going to try either. The closest you'll get to a homage to Ray Bradbury is Neil Gaiman's M's for Magic.
It's one of his I haven't read.
It's a short story collection in honor of R's for Rocket. It's actually really cool. Might be my favorite Gaiman thing. Actually, might be.
Oh, I thought the Sandman was your favorite Sandman,
Well, Sandman's definitely my favorite, like, single story, but for a short collection.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, M's for Magic is really good. It's a beautiful little homage to Bradbury.
I mean, I personally am more partial to American Gods. I love that book. It is not just bro. It's a masterpiece. So it's just have you ever seen that meme of that guy just like tears are coming out of his eyes?
Yeah, it's me though. I'm not dissing him as a writer. It's just for me. Bradbury helped ruin. I read Ray Bradbury, then I read Charles Dillent, and it ruined Neil Gaiman for me because Gaiman just is too much like those two. And I say that with love and respect because honestly, he's great at what he does, but he doesn't hit me the same way.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I think we've covered all we could.
Yeah.
If you wanna share like your social media before we get going.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to say it like this.
Shameless. Shameless, Josh.
Shush. Sit there, quiet, look pretty. Anyways, no. So first off, folks, I am about to hit 1,000 episodes on my podcast. My guest for episode 1,000 is Keith Giffen. So that's kind of a cool little one.
The guy who did the League of Superheroes.
Yeah, Legion of Superheroes. Yes. He also did the Justice League back in the late 80s, too. That was really the Wahaha Justice League. That's him. It's one of the best writers. Like, honestly, he's one of the best writers in the biz. Okay, so I'm plugging that. You shush, look pretty. So Keith Giffen, it's 1,000 episodes. And then I will be running the Twitch stream, twitch.tv/JustJoshingPodcast until September 15th. And then after that, it will fade into the sunset as a Twitch show, and will continue as a travel show, as I've already done episodes, which you can watch at my Patreon, patreon.com/JustJoshingPodcast. The last thing I'm going to plug is I am releasing my 4th series. I have directed, written, and produced Healing Hands. The host is Shelneil Bostic. She helped co-create the show. It's a massage therapy education show. It'll be coming out on YouTube. Gentle Healing Hands YYC is the YouTube channel. Definitely check that bad boy out.
It's like the Rush song.
Yes. Yes. It's all the Rush song.
Oh
So,
yeah, real quick, I also like the one with the robot grandma. I forget what that one's called. And that I Sing the Body Electric.
it seems like Electric's good. Yeah, there's some really good. Again, there's some really good Bradbury stuff. There's some really good stuff.
Like
He's
top
great.
Short story writers anyway, because he's just.
He's number 2 on my short story writing list.
Who's number 1?
King.
Oh, okay. Wow. But yeah, you can find me on Twitter, Goodreads and Letterboxd, where I write reviews, which are probably more coherent than the one you just heard right now, as I like to say. I also have Discord.
Actually, stop. There's one thing we should do.
What?
We gotta rate the book. So, ladies and gentlemen, I rate Fahrenheit 451 as 9 kinds of awesome. It was fantastic. It scared me. Like, it legitimately scared me. It is a wonderful book that explores the human spirit in a time of oppression, ultimately. And it's about connection, and it's about exploring ideas, and it kind of shits on the American dream. Kind of enjoy that. Anyways, that's why I like it.
I would say I would rank Fahrenheit 451 as really awesome. Probably like an 8 out of, at least like an 8 out of 10. I can't really think of those terms at the moment, but
Hey, listen, 4 out of 5 stars is a decent rank for that. I'll give it 5 because it's my all-time favorite book. But
yeah, if it were star ratings, it's 4 out of 5 for me. But
yeah, that's fine.
Definitely a lot of discussion. Again, I'm more of a something this way comes guy, but you know.
Hey, listen, that's taste. That's taste. And honestly,
it's magical, man. It's magic.
It's okay. And you know what? You are more than right to enjoy the magic. But for me, if we're gonna go strictly that way, it's Martian Chronicles. But I respect something wicked this way comes.
I remember he said a story. He's like, some magician walked up to me and said, "You will live forever." That book literally walked up and did that to me. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if Britain lives forever, you know why. Blame Bradbury.
You gotta make merch. They gotta have that Ray Bradbury merch. But anyway.
That's right.
But yeah, you should. I thought you were gonna get after me for saying for being self-deprecating again.
No, that's part of the joke.
Anyway, all right. See you guys later. Until next time.